People are going to tell you that researching your genealogy is impossible. And one thing I learned being on TikTok is that people come up with every excuse not to do the research. And I feel like this is because since they can't do it, they feel like other people can't as well. But it all starts with the information that you have at hand, meaning what was told to you. If you was told that, oh, there's no documentation to find, they burned everything, you can't trace your ancestry, you're going to go off on that narrative without doing your due diligence. And that is what I have noticed. I'm noticing this repeated partial lie that people are saying, which is, oh, the napkins have burned our documents, so we can't research our ancestry. And I say this is a partial lie because it is true that they did burn our documents to make it hard for us to research our ancestry. And if you are Black Indigenous, Black American, or a darker skinned Indigenous person who have been reclassified as Black, colored, Negro, etc., they done this to keep us from knowing our ancestry. However, they didn't burn all the documents. There are people that can research their ancestry all the way back to the 1700s, 1600s, maybe even 1500s, if they're really, really, really lucky. And this is not due to the simple fact that, oh, Europeans burned records, so that's why we can't find anything. No. People are forgetting that people back then were mostly oral historians, meaning that they come from a nation or society that valued oral history than paper documentation. And when bureaucracy was brewing and upcoming, they didn't trust that. They was like, oh no, I'm not going to give them my information. I'm going to lie to them. I'm going to throw them off on a loop because they did not trust them. So just because you can't find something doesn't mean that it wasn't there to begin with. It just means that either your family or pretty much your ancestors didn't trust bureaucracy, they didn't trust the napkins Americans with their information, and they lied to them, or they hid from them, or maybe they did burn your ancestors' documents. Or, okay, they burned the documents that would have led you to finding the truth. Meaning that because they burnt the documents that were pertaining to your family, it's keeping you from coming across documentation that would have sealed all the information and put it all together for you to see the bigger picture, or for you to research your ancestry further. Or, and a lot of people are mad at me for saying this, but your family is not telling you the truth about your ancestry. Grandma, grandpa, and even your great grandparents may have passed down information that is inaccurate because they are hiding family secrets. And this is no secret in the Black community or Indigenous community, whatever. People were having children with people they weren't supposed to. Grown men sleeping with underage girls. And because, the underage girl got pregnant by this grown man, they were like, okay, well, we're not going to tell anybody that she got pregnant by her uncle or her father or whoever, or this man down the street. We're just going to say that it was some boy that came down here to the south for the summer and he went back up north or whatever. Just creating narratives that are untrue to uphold family integrity and honor amongst society. And that's just like one example. I know some people get mad when I use those type of examples, but I mean, it's a variation of things. It's a variation of family secrets that are not being brought to the forefront because people are embarrassed by their family secrets. They don't want people to know about the truth about their family. And if you go digging for answers, looking for information, that can upset some elders and some family members who want to keep those secrets. Now, we have seen with the movie Medea's Big Happy Family, I think that's what the name of the movie is. And remember how Bow Wow ended up being the light-skinned lady's son. I forgot her name. I forgot the character's name, y'all. But I'm just going to go off of their characteristics and, name. People were hiding that information from him because they didn't want him to know the truth about what happened to his mom. And that happens in real life. People think that movies are just entertainment, but they had to get the inspiration from somewhere. And so just think that if Bow Wow's descendants researched their ancestry and they go all the way back to Bow Wow and they see and they're like, okay, well, who's the dad? Because more than likely they probably didn't even list the father on his birth certificate, because if they're not willing to even admit that the uncle took advantage of the woman and then she had Bow Wow as a result of it, they were not going to put that man on the birth certificate. So when the family members are asking around like, oh, who's Bow Wow's father, they're either not going to know or they're going to be hiding the family secret as well because they're trying to protect the identity of this person, the man that took advantage of his mother. So we have to really think and be like, wow, like people are going to do whatever it takes to keep up with a lie just so the family's image and integrity is not compromised and people don't view them differently in society. So it's no different when it comes to genealogy. Just think about how many people hit a brick wall just because their elders and their family members are purposely giving them false information. And this is why I tell y'all guys, y'all keep trying to put it as, oh, well, they just burned everything and that's why we can't find anything. No, it could be multiple reasons why you can't get further into your ancestry research. And one of those things is because your family is not giving you most of the information you need to get past the brick wall or even succeed in your genealogy research. And they may not be trying to be malicious, but they're trying to hold that secret, boo. So when it boils down to it, we can't just assume, oh, well, the white people burned everything. The African Americans burned everything, so we can't find anything. That's ignorance. That's telling me that you didn't even bother to look it up. You're just putting out excuses to not even do the work. And quite frankly, whose fault is that? If you just don't have the correct information to start off with doing your genealogy research, you're not going to succeed. You're just not. And no matter how many times you start over, you're not going to get anywhere because you don't have the correct information to go off on. And it's unfortunate, but it's a reality. We can't just keep blaming pale people for doing things that may have not even affected your family back then. And we also have to remember too, a lot of our ancestors come from indigenous nations. If you are a melanated indigenous American, your nation may have not even started doing paper documentation until colonizers arrived. They probably didn't even start documenting their ancestry until, it became the norm. Because a lot of people do not trust bureaucracy back then. And even today, a lot of people don't trust the establishment today either. So there are many reasons why people can't trace their ancestry to a certain point. Because for the longest, like I mentioned before, people were into oral history until they came across the napkin Europeans and was like, oh, we document things. This is how we trace our ancestry. This is how we know who is who. And some ancestors was like, oh, okay, cool. I want to hop on that. And some ancestors like, nah, I'm good on that. No. And it probably took them some time in their ancestry line to start embracing the census and embracing, any form of documentation that came with the government or came with organizations. My mother literally just told me a story just now about how my grandmother was not trusting of people that work for the census. They came out here one time and was trying to talk to my grandma, try to gather her information and data, and she was not going for it. Why? Because she thought that they were trying to steal her land. Yes, y'all need to take that into consideration too. Our elders and even ancestors thought anything that dealt with the government was a plan to take their land. So you have to keep those things in mind. And looking back at it now, can we say, was it a form of paranoia? It could be because, it's just a census. Like, census is not going to, take your land. It's all about conducting data. But if you're, from the country and you don't know that, then, of course, you're going to be, up in arms. Of course, you're going to feel like you're going to have to go grab your pew-pew, which is what my grandma told the census interviewer that what she was going to do if he didn't get off her land. So y'all have to keep this in mind. People need to stop fear mongering when it comes to genealogy research. All this, oh, white people, they just burned the documentation. It literally could have just been your ancestors or elders not trusting the government. And that's why they didn't give them your information, which is why you're having a hard time researching information about them now. People need to consider all options before running around with a story that has not necessarily been fabricated, because it is true white people did destroy documents, but it's how can you run around with a narrative that you don't even know rings true to your own ancestry? What particular document did they burn that involved your family? A lot of people can't even name it because they're just going off on what they heard when it comes to genealogy research. But anyway, I go more deeper into this topic on my Patreon, and I also give solutions on how to overcome the many obstacles when it comes to situations like this. So be sure to check out my Patreon for all my Patreon members out there. And if you would like to join, the link is in the description box down below. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. Go get them, gym go-getters.